Hi, I'm Natasha Ruddock from the World Prayer Centre in Birmingham, and today I'm with Greg Hall, who is part of Derby Kids for Christ. And in Derby, they've been praying for almost 30 years for children and children's workers. So we wanted to ask you a few questions, Greg, about what's happening in Derby. So the first question I'd like to ask is, what has been happening there, but also why is it important for us to pray for children and children's workers?
I think, Natasha, I think what happens very subtly in a lot of churches is without us realizing it, without us voicing it, we put children's work down the list. The children's workers are not viewed as the most important people in the church. And we put children into a Sunday school to draw a picture when actually experience around the world has shown that amazing things can be done with children. And I think that's why we need to get children up the priority list. They're not just the church of tomorrow, but they're part of the church of today. Jesus says, unless we come into the kingdom as a little child, we'll never enter it. I think that's my short answer.
Yeah, yeah. And obviously, as you said, we've witnessed that God can use all ages and there
Yeah.
are whole prayer networks around the world that are just children. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what results have you guys seen in Derby from what you've been doing?
That's the exciting thing, Natasha. I think when we put together the little write-up that is on your website now, uh, it was exciting for me because I hadn't realized the whole picture until I interviewed everybody who was involved. And when we wrote that short piece up, I myself was tremendously excited. I thought, wow, I didn't realize so much was happening because we get involved in our little corner and we don't realize all the other corners that are going on. But we in Derby, we do now a survey of all the schools. And I would just like to make the point that most children are in school, but not many children are in church. So the place for us to focus is schools. And we do a survey now of all of the schools in Derby. We've been doing that for the last 5 years. And there are 75 primary schools and there are 21 senior schools in the city. And we just do a survey to say what Christian inputs are going on. And it's just astonishing, really, when you look at it, that for us now, 58 of the 75 primary schools have a Christian input at least once a term, and in fact, 34 of the 75 have an input at least once a month. And it's just terrific to see what's going on. We do that just from the point of view of saying, well, where are the gaps? Because there are, in fact, actually 8 primary schools where, as far as we can see, there's no input at all. And there are a number of primary schools where there are multiple inputs. So we try to mobilize people to say, look, move from here over to there, and because it's tremendously important that children hear the good news while they're young.
Yeah.
And that's why we focus so much on schools and why there's so much prayer now going on, because there's a national organization, Pray for Schools, and I would laud what they do and commend what they do. But we've sort of approached things differently in Derby, but that's seemed the right thing for us to do. But we're just very excited at the answers we're seeing. Exciting to see.
That's amazing. Yeah. So it's like you're spiritually mapping what's happening in the schools in Derby,
Yes.
which is amazing. I mean, just I was just thinking, how would schools be different in a location if every Christian prayed for their local school intentionally?
It would make a tremendous difference. That's what Grace for
Massive.
Schools is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It would make a tremendous
Yeah.
difference.
So we've been working with you, WPC's been working with you to get some answers to prayer throughout the prayer movement, the movement for prayer in the UK. And this was our first kind of venture into that. But what I would say is if someone's watching this and they're like, oh, I'd like to start praying for schools where I am, what would be your tip?
Find one or two others, maybe even if there's only 2 or 3 of you, get going. Ordinary Christians. I'm a great I was a pastor at one time, Natasha, but now I'm an ordinary foot soldier. I don't have any titles. Just there's a great mission in God for ordinary foot soldiers. Then just get one or two. He used to say, "Well, who am I?" Well, who are you? You're a foot soldier of Jesus. So just get one or two other friends together and just begin to pray as the Spirit leads you. When we started in 1995, we there was just a dozen of us praying in a room, and we didn't realize there were other groups in the city. We didn't know that they were also doing stuff, and we just used to pray with enormous passion. And I think I said in the write-up, we used to have a map on the floor with all the schools marked on it, and everything happened to that map. Intercessors alike. We sprinkled water on it, we swept it, we stamped on it, we did everything. And and then 30 years later, we're seeing the results. So keep praying. Even if there's two of you, pray for the local school. Pray for it.
Right.
Pray and walk around it. Whatever.
Yeah.
There's one thing I would add, actually, Natasha, and that is how important it is to support children's workers.
Yes.
And that's something else we've done in Derby, is just get them together and support them and pray for them, because they need support, they need encouragement. It was right.
I love it. Yeah, that's great. So, if anyone wants to have a read of the write-up that you've done, it's on the World Prayer Centre website. So head over there, worldprayer.org.uk, and have a look for the article on prayer for children and children's workers in Derby.